Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 9 o'clock on a Monday, and it's time for a 5x5. Now, this is kind of like a bit of a lost episode. Let me explain why. A few weeks ago, you probably are aware if you watch this channel, I was knee-deep in controversy with one of my releases, EDC, and specifically going back and forth on the cafe with Michael Weber and Tim Trono. And at the time, I recorded a 5x5. Now, this happened shortly after I made a video, and I said that I wanted to kind of draw an end to it. And as kind of a way of saying I wanted to draw an end to it, I did a 5x5, just talking about some of the best tricks that Michael Weber and Tim Trono have ever created. I ended up not putting it up because I kind of thought it was in bad taste at the time. It was kind of very volatile on the Magic Cafe, and it just didn't seem the right time to put a video like that up. I still wanted to put the video up at some point, though, because honestly, despite what's happened with everything with EDC to everything that has happened, Michael Weber and Tim Trono, especially Michael Weber, have produced some incredible magic that a lot of people aren't aware of, and the point of this 5x5 was just to highlight some amazing tricks that Michael Weber has released over the years. That's the whole purpose of this channel, to dig out hidden gems and talk about stuff that talk about tricks that you might not have seen before. So I wanted to put this 5x5 up. It's yeah, I wanted to put it up. I think enough time's passed, and all the volatility and all of the controversy, I think, has died down a little bit now that EDC has come out. And you know, I really wanted people to see this video because I'm talking about some incredible magic. And it's magic that you should learn if you love to perform incredible magic. So, bit of a lost episode. Wanted to give you a very brief introduction as to why this episode is what it is, and why I reference it being a few days since the EDC controversy in the video. It's because I've only just decided now to put this up. I feel now is the time is right. So without further ado, let's have a look at this lost 5x5 episode. Magic TV, my name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock on a Monday. It's time for a 5x5. Now, this is where I take 5 subjects related to magic. I spend 5 minutes talking about each subject. At the end of the 5 minutes, I move on to the next subject. It's always quick. It's always snappy. To be honest, you never know what you're going to get. And today, I'm going to be doing a very special 5x5. And let me explain why. Over the last few days, I haven't had much sleep. It's been a very difficult time. I've been dealing with this whole EDC thing. I'm not going to go into that. That's not what this video is about. But one thing that has come from it is the amount of people that have said online, and the amount of people that have said in messages and Facebook and YouTube and the Magic Cafe that they've never heard of Michael Weber and Tim Trono. And that's a real shame. And I said in my video a few days ago, I want this whole thing to end, and I really do. But more importantly, the whole reason I set this channel up was to shine a light on hidden gems and tricks or creators that you might not have seen before, that in all honesty, you should be checking out. And despite everything that's gone on, the fact still remains that Michael Weber is a genius, and Tim Trono has been involved with thousands of incredible magic tricks over the years. And if you don't know Michael Weber and Tim Trono's material, then especially Michael Weber, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So this video is going to be all about 5 tricks from Michael Weber and Tim Trono that you've never seen before, that really you should be checking out. Now, 2 things. I'm not going to perform any of these tricks, and the reason is Michael is very, very, very protective about any material he brings out. And, you know, this is a first edition copy of Lifesavers, which I still think is one of the best books I've ever read, in my opinion. It was published by Kaufman and Greenberg. It's absolutely brilliant. First edition, and you'll see right here at the beginning, Michael Weber reserves the right for in all these effects, including manufacture, sale, and distribution right, television, film, video, radio, stage, theatre performance rights, reproduction of any of this work in any form, by any means now known or hereafter invented, is forbidden. Copyright Michael Weber. And this was actually in 1992, I saw Michael Weber lecture, and this is Lifesavers, the lecture. And as you can see, what I have in here is I have amendments to the book. So, or not amendments, but additional extra stuff. and how to take those routines in the book and completely kind of move them into another direction. And again, sales and distribution, right? You can't do it on television, you can't do it on film, on video. So and I don't want to get in trouble with Michael, especially after the last few days. So I'm not going to perform any of these routines. I will, however, describe them in great detail and tell you exactly where you can get them. So, without further ado, we're going to be looking at 5 tricks from Michael Weber and Tim Trono that you absolutely have to include in your repertoire. Okay, so the first trick I'm going to be talking about is from Lifesavers. And if you don't know Lifesavers, the whole idea, and it says here in the introduction, I began assembling the material in this book over 10 years ago. My intention is to offer techniques and complete routines I have used which can be performed with ordinary materials indigenous to particular locations. It's not necessary that every effect can be performed everywhere, as long as there's a routine utilizing found or improvised objects for conceivable sites. A lot of people talk about Lifesavers as a book of impromptu magic. Well, it's not necessarily impromptu, because a lot of the material in here you kind of have to make something up or gimmick something up beforehand. There is stuff that's impromptu, absolutely, but it's definitely going to have the feel of impromptu. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because a lot of the routines, you know, don't think this is a book of just routines that you would do in a social setting, because that's not the case. You could do these in a parlor show. You could do these in a close-up gig. Absolutely not a problem. One of my favorite tricks in this book is, I believe, one of the first tricks or the second trick in the book, coffee machine. And I love how Michael actually describes this. And he says it happens when you order a cup of cappuccino or espresso during a casual conversation in a bistro or sidewalk cafe, and you start talking about time travel. Now, if anybody's watched any of my work, you know I love the concept of time travel. I'm a giant geek. I've got a lot of routines that have that time travel plot attached to them. Well, what we have here is we have probably what is the ultimate routine when it comes to time travel presentations. Now, this is one that you would do it in an informal setting. It's done. It's the perfect trick to do in a cafe. I'll be honest with you. For many years, I went to networking events like BNI and for networking, and I grew my business through networking events and building up my network of people. And when you go to networking events, you typically will sit down over breakfast and have a meal. And this was absolutely the sort of thing that I did several times during that period of my life. I would do this. This was my go-to networking trick, because it kind of is a perfect example of the magic that I like to do. If you see me perform regularly on this channel, you know I like stuff where there's a kicker that they don't see coming, or I kind of like that Gate and Bloom style of magic. Like card in the box is a perfect example. The card goes under the box over and over again, and they just don't see it. Well, that's what happens in Coffee Machine. The whole presentation is based around time travel, and what happens is that you have this cup of coffee in front of you. You take a sachet of sugar, and you pour the sugar into the coffee, and then you take the spoon and you start stirring it, and they see it and they hear it being stirred. And then as you're doing this, you're talking about time travel, and then you say, we've just gone 60 seconds back in time. And when they look at your hands, even though they could hear the thing being stirred, you open up your hands and it's not there. It's just not there. The spoon's not there. And they look back down at the table, and the spoon is now on the table where it was before, but it's dry, it's bone dry. And then you look at the sugar packet, which hasn't been switched or anything. Yeah, because what you did is you ripped open the sugar packet and you dropped it. You dropped the sugar into the cup. You look back at the sugar packet, and now it's sealed up again, and the sugar's back inside. Now, this is incredible. And what I learned from this, and it's a great routine to learn anyway, but one of the things I learned specifically from this routine is that moment. You know, you don't have to always punctuate a magical moment. It doesn't have to be, when I snap my fingers, the card's going to come up to the top of the deck. Look, when I wave my hand over, the coin's going to disappear. And this is a perfect example of that. You literally just, or it's an audible and a visual moment. They just see everything reset 60 seconds back in time. I said that a lot of the routines in this book could be performed in a gigging situation, and they could. This one, I think it's really the sort of thing that you would do in the setting of having a cup of coffee with people, because it's designed for that. It's a little bit like Luke Oserlin from Visual Magic Store and his thing where you have the sugar and you make a sugar cube appear out of the sugar. That's kind of the sort of thing that you normally would do, sitting down, have a coffee with a friend. Well, this is the same sort of thing. You're sitting down, you have a coffee with your friend, you're talking about time travel, you're having a conversation, and then boom, all of a sudden everything resets back to where it was meant to be. Just killer. Absolutely killer, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, that's the first routine. As with a lot of Michael's stuff, it's not difficult. There's not really much sleight of hand in it. Instead, it's very clever routining and very clever framing and structure in order to actually make this work the way that it does. So I definitely check that out. If you haven't actually, if you've got Lifesavers and you've not actually looked at that trick, have a look at it, because it's really good. Okay, so the second routine is not from Lifesavers. It's a marketed effect from several years ago called New World by Dean Dill and Michael Weber. Now, I was actually going to perform this for you, but for some reason I can't find my New World deck. It's around somewhere and I don't know where. But New World is basically Dean Dill and Michael Weber's version of Out of This World. Now, if you don't know Dean Dill was an absolute legend of the magic industry. But really was one of the best coin magicians that ever lived, and really pioneered the use of several coin glyphs, including the flipper coin. Worked very closely with Jamie Schoolcraft. But Dean Dill was amazing. So when you put Dean Dill and Michael Weber in the same room and you get them to come up with their version of a classic of magic, then damn, it's going to be good. Now, you can go, I went and had a look on YouTube. There is actually a video of Magic Geek. If you don't remember Magic Geek, they were around, Chris Ballinger from Magic Geek performing this. So if you want to see this performed, you can go and check out Magic Geek. They're not around anymore. Vanishing Ink bought Magic Geek, but their videos still remain online. But yeah, it's really good. So it's basically a version of Out of This World, but it's a gimmick deck. It's very clean. It's got lots of principles and things built into it, like it's got the Aronson stack built into it, for example. But it's a version of Out of This World, and it's a very clean version of Out of This World. Now, there's an argument to say, why would you want to use a gimmick deck when you're doing Out of This World? Because you can do the same thing with a regular deck, and that is true. You can do the same thing with a regular deck, but honestly, the use of the gimmick deck really adds to the impossibility in the and of this particular routine. I've seen magicians fooled by this, that know Out of This World, and there know various different versions of Out of This World, and yet they've seen this and they've been completely fooled. It doesn't feel like a gimmick deck is in play at all, but it is, and it's just a really cool routine. I was actually I'm going to, off the back of this, I'm going to do a 3 best tricks, 3 best Out of This Worlds that you've never seen before, I think, because there's so many different versions of them, and I'm definitely going to include this in the video. If you're looking for a really strong Out of This World, and if you don't know what Out of This World is, if you're new to this, magic, and you don't know what Out of This World is, the whole idea is that you have a red card and a black card. The spectator divides the cards into red and black, and when they turn the cards over, you've divided the cards. All the red cards are over here, all the black cards are over here. That's what Out of This World is. And there's lots of different versions of it. I believe Paul Curry was the first person to create Out of This World from memory, but there's been some amazing versions. Harry Lorraine's got great versions, so many different versions of it. Paul Harris, I think his version was Out of This Galaxy. Michael and Mars' version is great. Eric Tate, of course, but this is Dean Dill and Michael Weber's version of Out of This World. And it's a very clean, very direct gimmick deck that allows you to do this and has a whole bunch of other principles built into it as well. So the second trick that I think you should check out by Michael Weber is New World. Okay, so in third place, we're going to move on from Michael Weber and we're going to skip over to Tim Trono a little bit, and we're going to talk about Branded. Now, Tim hasn't created as much magic as Michael Weber on the surface. So on the surface, he hasn't created as much magic as Michael Weber. However, behind the scenes, he's responsible for so many different routines and so many different tricks. He worked at Murphy's Magic for years, and he was part of the team that made sure that the tricks were as best as they could be. He now works at Penguin Magic, and he's had his fingers in so many different routines and added little touches, and you'll see. Now, if you've never heard of Tim Trono before, go and have a look at some of the tricks that you've bought over the years, and you'll probably see a credit there to Tim Trono at some point or another. With that being said, what I'm going to talk about is a trick that actually did come out from Tim Trono, and this is branded. Now, what's branded? Well, branded is still, in my opinion, the best version of the blister effect that I've ever seen. There's been lots of different versions of the blister effect. Obviously, Jason Poulter's got a great version. There's so many people that have got great versions, but I still think that Tim came up with the best version of the blister effect. Now, if you don't know what the blister effect is, the idea is very simple. The idea is that you have someone pick a card. You then take a lighter. You light the lighter. And you touch your fingers to the flame, and you go ow, ow, ow. And then when you look at the fingers, it's got the card burned as blisters on your fingers. So it might be a club and a 7, for example, and you've got this blister burnt into your thumb and your forefinger, and the blister is the card that they named. So that's what branded is. Now, normally, or at least up until the point that branded came out, most of the gimmicks in order to do this were quite big and cumbersome. You'd need to dedicate pretty much an entire pocket to them. The gimmick would have to be in the pocket, and you would have to reach into the pocket at some point in order to do what you need to do. It wasn't something that you could just have out in plain view. It wasn't something that you could have hidden in plain sight. And what Tim did, and what made it genius, in my opinion, is taking the gimmick and building it into something that fits onto a lighter. Without giving too much away, this gimmick will allow you to do the blister effect without even needing to go into your pocket. So it's not like you've got 50 lighters or anything like that either. You bring your lighter out. Well, you can have the lighter there, or you can have it. It's up to you how you do it. But you bring the lighter out, and then you just light the lighter, and you're done. The gimmick is on the lighter. And from memory, and it's been a long time since I had branded. I haven't done it in a long time. I used to do it quite regularly. I tried to find it before this video, and I can't. But I am going to do a magic live on it. But I haven't done it for years. But I haven't done the blister effect for years. If I was going to do the blister effect again, it would definitely be branded that I do it with. And I used to do it very, very regularly. But I couldn't find the gimmick. But from memory, I seem to remember the product came with 2 gimmicks. It came with a small gimmick for small lighters, and it came with a big gimmick for a big lighter. And you could literally just take the lighter, put it into the gimmick, and you're good to go. So from the point of view of a practicality point of view, you just need a deck of cards and the lighter. It's an instant reset. Nothing needs to be examined because the lighter doesn't look like it's got anything to do with it. You just take the lighter out to light. All the focus is here, put the lighter away. The use of the gimmick on the lighter was genius in that regard, because the gimmick, the lighter has a reason to be there. You need the lighter in order to light the flame. And then you put the lighter away. There's no focus on the lighter at all. And yet the lighter's the thing that's making everything happen. So the focus afterwards is on the fingers, or maybe the pack of cards. So, it's great from an examinability point of view, because it's not suspected or detected. Like I say, it's hidden in plain sight. Instant reset, completely examinable, no angle restrictions at all, perfect for walk around. It's a really great close-up trick. And if you are planning on doing the blister effect, or if you've ever done the blister effect and you've not looked at branded, go check it out. I went and had a look at it on Vanishing Ink and Penguin. It's still available on both. I think it's just over £20 over here in the UK. So what's that, like 25 bucks or something? It's not very expensive, and it comes with everything. You are going to need a DVD player. Remember those, because I imagine, it was released a very long time ago. But yeah, branded. It's one of those tricks that came out a long time ago, and it's just as good now as it was back in the day. It's some tricks age badly. A perfect example is my love cards that aged very, very badly. But there's certain tricks that age like fine wine, and branded is a trick that ages like fine wine. Okay, so we're back to lifesavers now. And I'm going to give you the biggest tip that I can ever give you. I still do this all of the time. And I've never shared this on this channel. I think this is one of the best tricks of all time. And I'm not just saying that, that's not hyperbole. This is one of the best tricks of all time. And I have done this. I haven't done it since the pandemic. And I haven't, would it work with a polymer note? I can't see why it wouldn't work with a polymer note. I'm going to have to make it up tonight with a polymer note. But it was one that right up until the pandemic I did all the time. Since the pandemic, I haven't really done it as much. I actually did it on virtual shows quite a lot. And then when I went back to actual gigging, I redid my close-up case and that just wasn't put in there. But 100% I would absolutely do this again. I love this trick and I genuinely think it's one of the best tricks of all time. It's called Undercover. Oops, there you go. Transposition. Now let me explain what Undercover transposition is. And it is this strong. You take out a note. Now you could borrow a note. I've actually got ways of actually doing this with a borrowed note, or you take out your own note. It's not really too much of a problem, right? And then what you do is you have you have a book of matches. Okay, so you have a book of matches and you have this this note. They sign the note, and that's a key thing that you need to understand. They sign the note, right? And then what happens is you say that you're going to make the note. You fold the note up, right? And you say that you're going to make the note, and you're going to make the matches change places. And you want them to watch very, very carefully. And as you're saying that, it's a little bit like coffee machine. Remember I said it happens in front of them and they don't even see it? The way that this routine is structured, they don't even see it. But in front of them, what happens is this note or this bill changes, apparently with no moves, into the matches, not the whole matchbook, because we're using an old-fashioned matchbook here, which you can still get. You know, lit is another thing you should look at. It's not Michael Weber or Tim Trono, but lit. This works really well with lit, but I digress. You look over here and it's just the matches that were inside the matchbox, the matchbook. So it's not the whole matchbook, it's just the matches. And they look at the matches, and then you go, well, if the matches are here, you pick up the matchbook and you look in it and you go, well, have a look yourself. And they look in themselves. And now there's no matches in there. Instead, there's a bill. But it's like, you know, like stapled into there. Like the matches are stapled into there. It's stapled into there. And then when they undo it, it's their signed bill, which is now stapled inside the matchbox, which has been on the table the whole time. That strong. And I'm so not kidding. Now, I remember entering the IBM close-up competition. I entered it a couple of different times. First time I entered it, if anybody's old enough to remember me entering it, I actually performed this trick in the close-up competition. And it got an amazing reaction. Afterwards, I had so many magicians coming up to me going, how did you do that? How did you do that? And I structured it so that it was a borrowed bill. So I took the bill, I borrowed it, I had somebody else get a pen, I did the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it's not, here's the thing, because it's a signed bill, for sure, it doesn't need to be a signed bill. And if it's not a signed bill, you can probably reset it. But the power of this routine is it being a signed bill. That's really the power of the routine. So when you do, because the giveaway is great. We talk about amazing souvenirs and tricks. This is an amazing souvenir and a trick. Here you've got your bill. It's now a matchbook. It's incredible. It's a great souvenir. So if you're going to, so this isn't the sort of thing that you would do 20 times in one night. Yes, it doesn't take long to make up, and you could make 20 of these up before you went to your restaurant residency, for example. But honestly, I think this is so powerful. The type of place that I would suggest you perform this is in a parlor show, as part of your parlor show, or maybe if you're doing a wedding at the head table, because a lot of the time in weddings, or at least it still happens, not as much as it used to, but it still happens. They have personalised matchboxes. Oh, and by the way, you can get personalised match books relatively cheaply. So if you do like this, get yourself a personalised matchbook book and put your logo on it. You know, that's a big tip right there. And then you give it out and it's got your logo on. But you can actually make this on the fly. So if you go to a wedding and they've got personalised matchbooks, you could actually do this with a personalised matchbook at a wedding. You could do it at the head table of a CEO. This is something that you want to save and you want to do right time, right place. And yeah, this is something that you could do seemingly impromptu. This is something that you could do, like you're sitting down with friends and you say, hey, I've got some matches here. Can anyone lend me a bill? Let's go into this. absolutely 100% for sure. But it's a great trick in its own right. And genuinely, that moment where they see, they're convinced that they've got the bill, or you've got the bill, and they can see the bill, and then they're talking, and the structure. Again, this comes back to the point that I made in Coffee Machine. One thing that Michael Weber's really good at is structuring a routine and making it really well structured, and you'll see that over and over again, especially in something like Lifesavers. But the moment where they see the bill and then they look back, and now it's the matches, and then you look at the matchbook and then you say, have a look yourself. Forget about it. It's amazing. And hopefully, I mean, my style as a magician is I'm very visual. I do a lot of visuals type of magic. And the other thing is a lot of tricks that Michael Weber is known for creating. A lot of times you think of Michael Weber, it's kind of more cerebral, mentalism style routines, for sure, because that's one thing that he's used to create a reputation for himself. But outside of that, he's created some incredibly visual magic. And this is an example of something incredible. Okay, so the final trick that we're going to be talking about here is Moxie, which is also from Lifesavers. And you know what? I went back and forth when I decided to do this video as to, I wanted to do a few things from Lifesavers, because you can still get it from time to time. And I wanted to do some of the stuff from Lifesavers. And I didn't want to do a lot of the stuff that he's really known for. There's certain rubber band routines and things like that he's really known for. I wanted to do some of the more maybe lesser known stuff. And Moxie is a perfect example. If you've got Lifesavers, it's page 44. Now, this is a couple of principles meshed together that just make sense of a very classic routine. Now, if you've seen that trick, a lot of people are doing it on TikTok at the moment. If you've seen that trick where you've got 3 matchboxes and you shake one of them and there's matches in there and the other 2 don't have matches in there, and you're mixing them around, it's like a 3 matchbox Monty, and they're always able to never get the one with the matches in. If you've seen that, a lot of people are doing it on TikTok at the moment, and they're also doing variations with Smarties and things like that. If you've seen that, Moxie is based on that. Now, I'm not going to explain the method for this, although I think a lot of people would know by the description what I'm talking about and how it works. And the big problem with this particular routine is that at the end, all of the matches vanish. They have to vanish. You have no choice, because that's part of the method. This is an example of how Michael Weber has taken this age-old trick, and instead of actually having it so all the matches disappear, you can actually have it so that at the end, you tip the matches out and you show the matches are in there and everything's examinable. And that's the moment that he's put into this routine that takes this particular trick from a cool little stunt to an absolute miracle. And the nice thing about this is the original version of this has been exposed a little bit on TikTok recently, and social media and reels on Instagram. And I've seen a few people expose it. And if anyone's seen one of those exposure videos, they'll assume that they know what's going on. And then at the end, when you tip the matches out and they are actually there, it's just like a kick in the head. It's like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. But a lot of people have never seen those exposure videos, so it's not really a problem. But there's that element to it, which is quite nice. But I expanded on this. The original Moxie is not very big. It's like a page and a half of instruction. Page and a half, is it? Page and a half? Yeah, just literally a page and a half. And it's just describing the effect and the method, and that's all it is. But I turn this, and I still do this. I did this a lot over Zoom, and I did it about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So the whole idea is, and the way that I perform this is I show 3 matchboxes, and one's got matches in and 2 haven't, and I put them down and I turn my, no, that comes later. So I mix them up and they've got to guess where it is, and they're wrong and they're wrong and they're wrong. And then I have it so that the matches jump and do transpositions, and I show that the matches are in all the matchboxes and then they're in none of the matchboxes. And this is all possible because of the method that we've got in here. And then as the finale, I show that they're actually in one of the matchboxes, one that they didn't think it was going to be in. And it's got that very much, I present it as very much like a scam thing. Think Greg Wilson, you'll be on the right sort of ballpark. So I kind of think, okay, how did you not get this? The matches are over here. Come on, let's try again. So if you've ever seen that trick and you know what I'm talking about the matchboxes, and you want to really kind of step it up and take it to another level, then 100% you want to look into Moxie. I don't think I've ever seen anyone perform it or talk about it. It's one of those tricks that just appeared in a very old book from 1991, and there's certain tricks that everybody talks about in these books, and there's certain tricks that people don't talk about because maybe they skipped them, or maybe it wasn't as exciting as some of the other stuff in there. Moxie absolutely 100% fits that bill. So if you've got lifesavers, go check out page 44. It's called Moxie. So there you go, guys. That's another 5x5 in the bag. I'm very sorry I didn't do any performances, but, you know, I do want to respect the wishes of Michael and not actually perform any of this stuff on camera or video or anything like that. But hopefully my descriptions and my chatting about them has inspired you enough to go out and maybe pick these up. If you get branded, if you get New World, and if you get Lifesavers, you're going to have access to everything that I've spoken about. So there you go. Do me a favor, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you have a favorite Michael Weber or Tim Trono trick that you want to talk about? Let me know in the comments down below. You want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. And once again, thank you for all your support over these last few days. I really appreciate it. I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.